So Twig, firstly, thank you very much for joining us today. Firstly, how's things going in Tasmania following the end of the 2021 season?
Yeah, good to see you, Joe. Yeah, it's been a good period of time. Been down in Tassie. Been really fortunate through 2022 that the travel bubble between South Australia and Tasmania has remained open. So there's been opportunities to get down to be with family at the right time. And yeah, I've been able to get a lot done Norwood-wise and footy-wise whilst being down here and doing the school runs and drop-offs, pickups and whatever else, swimming lessons and all the things that come with it. So, yeah, it's been good. And I'll be back in Adelaide very soon. Yeah, but I'm enjoying my time down here.
Just quickly, before we get into it, notable changes between Tasmania and Adelaide. What are you preferring weather-wise, city-wise? What's the difference?
Well, I can't win here, can I? Because if I start pumping up Tassie, I'll be seen as anti-South Australia. No, I love Tassie, very patriotic Tasmanian, always have been. And yeah, my sister and parents still live down here. My partner's sister lives down here, and we've got a couple of young children together, and also a stepdaughter who lives down here. So, yeah, I really enjoy my time. But no, to be frank, I've really enjoyed South Australia, and Sally and the children are looking forward to relocating at the right time over the next 12 months to start up a life in Adelaide. So we really enjoy it. We've made good friends, primarily through the footy club, but certainly some offshoots of the footy club as well. But yeah, it's a lifestyle that's well suited to family, and yeah, all our life needs are certainly in and around South Australia.
Fantastic. Let's get into it. Obviously, we've obviously since the end of the season, we've had our presentation night, and we've had a few departures from the footy club. Just talk us through. We've had a fair bit of experience, with the 5 being announced on the same night as the presentation. Then we've had a further 5. Last week was the formal announcement. Just talk us through, those scenarios for the fans.
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe. Like when you're in the position that I and a couple of other staff members are in, you're well aware of how things get to where they get to. And it's not lost on me that if I was a supporter and I saw the amount of departures, that I'd get a little bit edgy and jumpy, and there'd be a couple of parts. I kept trying to put myself in our people's shoes of why so many. Some of them will be deemed as our best players. Is this a mass exodus? Are we going to be able to field a team? These sort of things and comments, I understand why they're raised, but it's a good opportunity to talk to them. And I think when I look through the names and think about the guys, there's individual circumstances around every one of them that led to why they won't be at Norwood next year. And the other one, to be quite frank, they were all their own decisions. And I think that when you're dealing with the quality of people that we are talking about, referring to, that they're not characters you like to lose from your club, but there are life situations, there are business situations, there's personal situations that all those individuals have confronted, and the dialogue through most of them was ongoing throughout the season. So Brad McKenzie has a business of which that business increased with output from him, and he was starting to really struggle with demands of training and then playing, and so that was a challenge. And he's got to a point where he's probably felt he's achieved everything he wanted to achieve in SANFL. And Cam Shenton was exhausted by the end of the year, and some of these guys I'm talking about, there was probably consideration 12 months ago where they were going to finish, but I really admire their courage for having another go at trying to achieve the ultimate with Norwood. Now, Paul Piopolo, I reckon, was terrific acquisition as a character. I thought his effort on game day was really good. He was terrific with our young forwards. Another child this year, not an AFL player, manual labour. So he wants to pull back on the commitment it takes to play at this level. Richard Douglas was terrific, second in our BNF. Has some personal situations throughout his life, which are just starting to South Australian footy, the level that is set by the competition, not by us at Norwood, was starting to be a bit demanding. Mitch Grigg, no doubt with having a baby, been at the top of the tree for quite a while, and there's obviously a personal situation with the health of his father as well, which was pressing, and I thought he dealt with that tremendously well. Michael Talia's body was getting to a point where it wasn't able to deal with the rigours of the game. And probably the one that surprised a few of our people, because it only really happened after the BNF, was Michael Knoll. And he obviously had 2 significant knee injuries this year. And upon further examination with scan, his knee was starting to look pretty ugly, and the long-term prognosis wasn't ideal. And he made a decision based upon his own health and welfare that he couldn't really, once again, stack up to the demands of SANFL footy. So those guys were situations that once it's explained, and hopefully this helps our people have a bit greater clarity, they all make sense. Zach Richards has been at Norwood for X amount of years. I'm pretty sure it's 10 or 12, given he's been there through the juniors. Had a year where he's playing more twos than ones. It was a frustrating year, so I understand. Emmanuel Lira played 90-odd games with SANFL. Didn't play a game this year, but terrific club person, and appreciate the honesty about where he sits and the challenge ahead to get a game. Pete Bampton, exactly the same boat as Emmanuel. Henry Crawford, a bit of a different situation. He hasn't played league footy with our club and made a choice that it was too hard and wanted to go to the York Peninsula. So hopefully that explanation can give our people an understanding that all the circumstances are different, and I can hand on heart tell them that all those people left with great dignity and respect from the club to them and then back to the club. So I'm really comfortable that the dealings were strong. There's a few of them there. Yep, you'd like to probably eke out another season, a couple of their situations, but all good things come to an end, Joe, and just think there was a good opportunity to talk to those situations.
No, well said, Twig, and they're all fantastic guys. So, we thank them again for their pledge and their allegiance to this football club for a number of years. Just touching on the next part of it, obviously recruiting wise, obviously everyone gets excited at this time of year and being unveil some recruits and all that. How are we looking, and what kind of players are we circling? Ahead for the 2022 season.
Yeah, it's always an interesting time of the year, the recruiting at second tier footy, because when you're dealing with guys coming off an AFL list, they're dealing with disappointment, they're dealing with that faint hope possibly of being delisted free agent or rookie draft still, and then they're considering what they would do with their footy if it wasn't AFL and where that would be. So I find the most challenging bit, the timelines, is that there's no set time that you can ask a person to give you a response. So that part of it's challenging, but it's also exciting because you don't know what's possible. We're very active with three very strong pillars of how we want to recruit people into Norwood moving forward, Joe. So we really want to target an age profile. We feel as though we've got an opportunity to really bring a group through with playing together for multiple years. And so we're really targeting that 20 to 25-year-old range. We've got a level of maturity, probably played some senior footy around the country. The second one is their character. We just want to, with the types of characters that have moved on, we want to keep bringing good people in our club that are going to really have a positive effect on the way we do our business and really rub off on other people around the club. I've just got a really strong philosophy on the more good characters we can bring in from a playing list, but also staffing. Every corner they go around, there's another good person there. It does have a real positive effect on people. And the third bit is the footy capability. This level is the second best competition in the country, and you need to have demonstrated some capability that you've got the capacity to play at senior level, or you've certainly shown traits that are trending to go that way. So we're really active. I'm not going to give you anything that people really want just now, and I think that's be unprofessional of me to start speculating as to who we might be going after. But I want our people to know there's a real strong philosophy on what we're trying to acquire. Very, very professional. I really want to acknowledge Rob Harding's efforts in recent times to really grab hold of this and make it a really professionally run program and process with our recruiting. I'd like to think that the people we've spoken to and are speaking to feel as though they've been valued, cared for, and understand what our club represents and stands for. So there's been a bit of tag teaming between Rob and myself in particular. James Sowell has been really helpful as well with his knowledge of players, especially in South Australia, but certainly broadly and other competitions as well. So it's very thorough. We've got a lot of irons in the fire that are in those parameters that we've spoken about, and we'll make announcements at the right time, but we're not in a rush.
Well said. In terms of being a senior coach, obviously, does it concern you in terms of, with the amount of experience, having departed the club and what you've instilled into the footy club and into the football program in 2021, does it kind of, concern you in terms of, rebuilding again, essentially, and resetting what you've done last year with, high turnover of players?
Yeah, it's a fair enough question to ask, because I don't think it concerns me. I've reflected a lot on the situation at hand, what's been, where we're at now, where we want to go. And I just know we've got a group of players that really believe in our vision as a club and what type of team we want to be and how we want to go about it. And if we can keep adding people in that have got good characteristics as people, got their life sorted in off-field sense, and are really hungry and driven to want to be a Norwood player and help us succeed, they're the type of people I want to be around. And I just don't think we can underrate the the exuberance of youth. I think inexperienced we were at times this year, but I think it showed where we can get to with the balance of experienced players at the other end as well. So I think Matt Panos returning is a pretty big acquisition. I always feel like he's number one draft pick in many ways, that he's obviously been a very high level of this competition, and to have him back in full fitness and hungry, and his leadership and presence straight away makes a big difference. And then naturally the organic growth of our people internally, like Jacob Kennelly is 21, but he's got a really high level of maturity. Harry Boyd came in and has got a great maturity and plays like a man, and boys want to jump in behind him. Mitch Wilkins has got high level of leadership about it. Nick Roker really grew this year with his way, how he approached his footy and how he sees it. Declan Hamilton is terrific, was Clubman of the Year. Clubman of the Year, that's right. And what a great acknowledgement for what you give to your group and how you're viewed by your club. So I don't have concerns of what we can be. I think that we're going to have to do some more work to develop our young emerging leaders as to where the opportunities are to lead, how you can have influence and how you can shape people around you. And 36 guys went on a footy trip to Darwin, Joe, and I'm one of the great advocates of a footy trip, because a lot of great relationships have born out of footy trips around the world, but 36 of them at a second-tier footy club. I think it's great recognition of the connectedness of this group and how much they enjoy hanging around each other, and how our young guys and experienced guys must feel safe around the older guys.
Definitely. So Twig, obviously, going back to Tasmania for a little bit now. You've come to terms, and you've sat back and probably watched a bit of the footage from the last two finals that we played in against the Eagles and South Adelaide. Overall, what did you think about those two finals and how we played? Obviously, very close to beating the eventual premiers in the first final, but then a rather disappointing performance in that second final against South.
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe. I've had a lot of time to reflect on it, and I think our people would have heard, whoever does listen to the press conferences would have heard me in a bit of a snaky mood after the South Adelaide one. Probably wasn't my greatest performance at the start of that chat, because I was still agitated with how we performed. But I'm incredibly proud of the playing group to get to the position they put us as a club in this year. I thought our Woodville final was so good in so many ways, and I think I had a chat with Jade Rawlings the other day and just congratulating him and just talking about that game. And there's no doubt they felt finals hardened by that game, which then they were able to carry through. And we arguably should have won it with a couple of things, that either holding the ball, whether it was there or not. And I think Pascoe kicked that goal, and unfortunately with Gerloff's set shot late, we just didn't make the most of that chance. And in reflection, I feel as though, as much as it wasn't built up to be this way, that was our grand final. The next week we played Piopolo, who'd come off 6 weeks from a knee, and Mackenzie had had a few weeks out with a hammy, and Nunn had to back up 6 days time from his most previous 10-week stint out. And I just felt that I don't think we were conditioned to deal with the South Adelaide game, unfortunately. And I felt the game didn't look the way we wanted to against South, and that's a behavioural thing, There were some parts of the game it didn't look like a Norwood game. But I will say this, Joe, that as frustrated as I was with how we played and our skill level and our inability to either kick a goal or find a target inside 50, there were some behaviours in that last quarter that showed a group was prepared to keep fighting. And I don't think South felt comfortable right up until the last couple of minutes, even though I don't know what the margin was now, but 3 or 4 goals. But we just kept having a crack. And Cam Ball made a tackle over the half-back flank with about 1 minute to go. We knew we were going to lose, but when you're going to play behaving like that, it means they're committed, and it means that they believe in something bigger than just themselves. And so that's been my reflection. So I think there's enough there to show and demonstrate that our way works. I think there's enough there to show we've got a fair bit of improvement in us. And I think there's enough to show that whilst we got conditioned last year and probably arguably got fitter than what we've been previously, there's another range that our players can go to physically, with their running conditioning, their body size, and their mental capacity to keep dealing with fatigue and pressure. So, yeah, there's a fair bit of optimism with the improvement that's left in the current group and with what we bring in to build around it.
I was going to say, we spoke about the 2 losses, Rob, but let's put a positive on it. Which game, in your opinion, during the year, could you sit back and go, you know what, that's the way we want to play week in and week out, what we brought to the table, our competitiveness, our contest work, our ability to finish? I mean, what game caught your mind as to one of your best in terms of here at Norwood in 2021?
Yeah, one thing I want us to try and be as a club is get to a point where we don't have to go back and go, oh, that Port game or that South Adelaide game earlier in the year. But I totally get your point. I thought our North Adelaide game at Prospect late in the year was really meritorious because I felt we improved a lot after lockdown. I felt that we added some layers to our game. And to be frank, my reflection is, if lockdown didn't happen, would I have reflected the way I did? And I think the answer would be no. So lockdown ended up being a positive, and we actually really set ourselves to add a couple of layers to our game. And I felt the North Adelaide game was the one that demonstrated our capacity to grow and show different elements to how we play. And the other part of that, it was really rewarding. That was affirmation we're going to play finals as well. So I thought our players dealt with the pressure of we lost to Glenelg again. And that's when they ran us down for the second time. We found a way to play really strong footy to beat West Adelaide. But there was still, we had to knock over North, and the unknown was Adelaide Crows in the last game. And for us to go and play North at North with what happened earlier in the year, which everyone had a pretty sour taste in their mouth from, I thought when I looked at that game on the day and then in reflection, that looked like a Norwood way of playing. It was going to stack up, not just against North that day, but over periods of time and in finals. So, yeah, to answer your question, I reckon that one would be one of the more satisfying ones. It should give our people an idea of what it looked like, which had a really strong contest flavour. We were able to stand up as a backline. We're under pressure, and we looked like scoring when we went forward. So that's not a bad combo.
Yeah, well said. I agree. It was a very good game, that one. Overall, though, Twig, how do you reflect both on and off the field in your first year at the Parade? Obviously, coming over, from Melbourne. How do you find the overall year, the supporter base? Obviously, our supporters are very, very passionate, as you've seen in the last, 12 months here at the footy club. On and off the field, how do you rate the year?
Oh, incredibly enjoyable. It had its challenges, which that makes it all the more satisfying for me. I think if you accept a job like this and you're not prepared to accept the pressure and the accountability and the expectation, then you probably haven't signed up for the fullness of the job. So I think my reflection is our way stacks up. I think we've got to improve parts of our game, especially how we go forward, and probably skill level at times I thought was a bit underwhelming and probably cost us. But then in a bigger, broader sense, so I think that I want our supporters and our people to really feel proud of their team. And one of the really satisfying comments from the president, who I think is a star, Paul Giulio, is a really good man, and he just reflected and said he felt proud of watching his team play this year. And for me, that's a really good, strong baseline. I'd like to think our supporters enjoy watching us play. And all I'd say was I do find a sense of when we don't have a momentum or things aren't going exactly as planned, we tend to get a bit negative and we're a bit pessimistic, and we just want to be in front and win all the time. And also I would say I'm like that as a supporter as well. Like I follow the Hobart Hurricanes in the cricket, and I get filthy when they're not going any good. And I start questioning my mate Adam Griffith, what's he doing as a coach? And I get agitated with individuals. So I keep trying to put myself in the situation. I just keep encouraging our people. My reflection is, how can we keep being optimistic about thank you to those guys who've served for us, but let's be really optimistic about our club, how we're so well run as a board and as CEO, James Fantasia, Justin Saritsky's a footy director. I can't ask for any more support than what our board gives us and how they run our club. They give us a chance to be good. But let's just keep really looking for the optimism of what next year can be and beyond, and also the positivity of new people in our club. Our supporters' favourite player might be in the next bunch that comes through. Our supporters might see a group of 2 or 3 players that never heard of before, like Callow last year became really a fan favourite. I saw Harry Boyd really connect with our people this year. I saw people get really caught up in what Jacob Kennelly was doing, and they saw the growth of Collins, and I think they liked Hurd, and they saw Ball improve, and they saw Josh Richards come in for the second half of the year. They saw Morris make his debut and go really well. Transfer became part of what we do. The Lenny Pascoe, who I get the feeling is quite popular in the play group.
Yes.
What a great story. Like, you throw Declan Hamilton down back and he totally changes how we go about our business. I mentioned Callow, and I thought Callow gave everything of himself, and to see him come back to a best and fairest when he's an AFL listed player reflects what our club gave to him, but also his own character to come back. So I get a bit wound up talking about our players, Joe, but like Mac Bauer. Mac was nowhere for a period with a long-term back injury, but he worked his way back and played a really good, strong 6-7 weeks, and that's huge growth. And Mac and I had a really good chat last night about him being up for the challenge of being a Norwood player again and how he can find his niche and spot in the team. So I think there's a lot of stories out of 2021, Joe, and I just want to keep asking our people to keep being optimistic about what we can do. Don't think we're sitting on our hands. We're quite active with how we want to improve, how we want to add staff to certain parts of our program so that players have got everything they need. So we take this very seriously about the setup of Norwood Footy Club to be successful. Take it very seriously, and I'm accountable to that and want to be a driver of that. But there's a whole heap of people who need to be on board with it as well, and that's our staff in the office, it's our staff in the medical department, in the high performance, in our coaching, and our board, but also our supporters. I keep encouraging them to love this jumper. I think it's one of the great jumpers I've been lucky enough to be associated with. And that Fortis March was just one of my great experiences in footy. I don't know if I shared it with you, but I went to the President's Lunch and came out to go back downstairs, and I just stopped in the foyer upstairs at our Wolf Bay Centre. And I looked down, the march was going down Wood Street, and I just had this moment of looking at, and I haven't experienced some of this in the footy, and I'm 43, 44 now, but doing it a long time. That was a huge buzz, and to hear our players talk about it. So what it's about, Joe, it comes back to our people and loving what this represents and how it makes us feel. And that's where my energy and optimism and enthusiasm comes from, is to what we can be. And there's a lot of work to go into it to get it the way we want it to be, but we're going that way. And I just want to keep making sure our people jump on the back of it and really believe.
Fantastic. And yeah, memberships will be out soon as well. We hit 3,100 last year, so we're looking to progressively get that bigger. Just before we let you go, how'd you, obviously the grand final with Melbourne and the Bulldogs, had to ask it, obviously as a former coach at Melbourne, how proud are you of the red and blue?
I think whenever you've had attachment to something that ends up being successful, you can't help but feel a level of pride. Like, I'm very close with a lot of people at Melbourne still, and I know what they went through to get to that day. And yeah, I don't think I've seen a more powerful level of footy in my life. It was incredible what they did both against Geelong in the prelim and on grand final day. And the synergy for me was they were 101 Fortis Ciprasella. They were strength and adversity. When they're 3 goals down halfway through the third, they stuck to what they believed in, what they've been trained in for a period of time, and it served them very well under pressure. So yeah, I'm so happy for Goody. Like, he was, it's amazing when you start seeing the pressure cooker on a coach started last week for next year. It's incredible. But he was that person 12 months ago, and now he can pretty much write his own cheque for being a coach of Melbourne for 5 or 6 years. So I'm really pleased for him, and he's done a lot for me. So I'm incredibly happy for him and proud of what he's been able to achieve.
Beautiful, Twig. I really appreciate you coming on to have a chat with me today. We're looking forward to obviously the next few months and getting crack into to pre-season. Looking forward to getting you back here, and hopefully we get some good news out for the fans in the next couple of weeks or so. And we look forward to hope you have a good break over there, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, good on you, Joe. And like you said, we'll announce things when they're the right time, and when we've got our stuff organised and professionally tidy it all up. But yeah, there's some stuff that's going on that I think people will be really happy with and proud of and optimistic about. So thanks for that.